Aviation is a very cyclical industry. We've seen it after 9/11, the recession in 2008, and most recently the pandemic. My mission here at Cashflow on the Fly podcast is to arm pilots with all the tools and knowledge they need to achieve financial freedom through real estate. This is your host, Sach Bernhardt, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Cashflow on the Fly podcast. I'm sitting here with Robert Preston. He is the principal at Climb Capital. Climb Capital is a real estate private equity firm focused on buying, improving, and operating RV parks across the Southeast. Robert, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Dude, I'm excited to talk to you. We connected over LinkedIn.
Yep.
I don't remember. It was a while back, a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month or so ago.
Sure.
And I noticed you pretty quickly because obviously I saw the name of your company, Climb Capital, and I figured, hey, it's gotta be related to aviation somehow.
Yep.
And so that's when I started doing a little bit more research on you and saw that obviously you had your background on flying. And so you were in the military, right?
Yep. So 15 years as a Marine Corps Osprey pilot, and then finished that out as a flight school instructor flying the T6.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me about that Osprey, man. I'm curious about that. What did you even call? Did you call it an airplane? Did you call it a helicopter? What do you call it?
It's called a tilt rotor. So
tail rotor.
Yeah, tilt rotor, and it has its own category of under powered lift. So it's actually in the same category as like a Harrier.
Okay.
From the FAA's perspective, a little bit weird, but yeah, we'd call it a tilt rotor, or affectionately the plop plane helicopter, the plopter. So
plopter. Okay, plopter. I love it. That's the word probably what I was looking for. There had to be a term that between pilots you call it, because you won't call it the technical term, right? You will call it the plopter. I love it. So it's kind of an interesting concept, and I know obviously you flown airplanes and helicopters. Obviously you've flown airplanes.
The cool part to be an Osprey pilot is through flight school. Basically, I had to go through the full training syllabus for single engine and multi-engine. So basically the same syllabus as a C-130 pilot. And then we'd go back and go through the same syllabus for all the helicopter pilots too. So it was pretty neat. Like when I graduated, or we got winged as a naval aviator, I had more licensing and qualifications than the instructors because I was licensed for helicopters and multi-engine airplane, all this stuff. So yeah, it was pretty neat to be able to get all that training.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So I haven't even looked at a video, but obviously just from looking at the plopter, it just looks, are you flying straight and then you hover and then you come down, or how does the engine tilt like that for you to be able to do that?
Yeah. 90% of the time you fly it like an airplane, right? It's built to be flown like an airplane. Your controls are very similar to an aircraft or to an airplane. But the one exception, of course, is when you're going and you transition, the whole engines and the cells rotate, and that's based off a angle. And so you control that simply with a little thumb wheel on your power control lever on your throttle, just like literally just like a wheel on a mouse. You pull it back and they start going up, and push it forward, they start going down. And so, yeah, as you're transitioning to land, like you can come to a full hover and come down. You could still land it at 90 knots on a runway, like at a hybrid mixed use. Same for a takeoff. You could do rolling takeoffs, rolling landings, come to a hover. So it was, you just had to learn I think you broke it down. There was like 45 different combinations of takeoffs and landing profiles to hit.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
It's a beast. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Dude, I love it, man. I love looking at what prior to the podcast, you were telling me the airplanes. So I was just looking them all up. The T6. I like the first T6. I have actually, I'll show you later. I have a pretty nice picture in the background of the front of the T6. So I am excited to talk about the type of asset class that you guys at Climb Capital focus in, because I am personally not very familiar with RV parks. And so I'm interested to learn more about that. But why don't you give us a background, man? Tell me how you went from being a military, being a pilot, and then into real estate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Graduated with a degree in economics from Clemson University in 2005, commissioned in the Marine Corps, flight school, all that stuff. Got stationed East Coast up at Camp Lejeune, New River, and subsequently did 2 deployments to Afghanistan in the Osprey, 2010, 2012. And so second deployment, 2012, kind of a senior captain there, doing a lot of missions, doing a lot of really awesome stuff. Some not realistically. Some real scary nights, an
Yeah.
enemy or landing, and just all kinds of stuff. Made some major life changes coming out of that deployment and reevaluated a lot of things in my life. Very blessed to be able to come home from that deployment. I dedicated my life back to Christ and got married and just changed the way it is. But the third component of that was like, hey, maybe there's a better way to make a living than getting shot at. As much fun as it is, it's a little bit stressful. Came back, started learning, actually, while I was in Afghanistan, I remembered a book I read in college, and that was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? So the iconic book, read that as a freshman or sophomore in college. And then 12 years later, I'm sitting there in Afghanistan thinking, how can I make money? What should I do? Every rich person I know has something to do with real estate. Let's start there. And so started reading book after book when I'm not flying in Afghanistan, come back, do some weekend guru classes, off to the races there. So for me, very stereotypical path. Didn't have any money, negative net worth type stuff. So wholesaled, made some cash on some flipping wholesales. That led to flipping some houses. The houses, I got to the point where that was becoming a job, like trying to find the next deal, managing all the contractors, etc. I need some passive income. And sat down, did the math of like where I wanted to be at a monthly income level. And that was like 43 houses. I remember that number. It was like 43 houses. I'm like, man, that is a lot of houses. That's going to take me a while getting there. How else could I do this? And driving down the road, look over to the left, there's an RV park. I'm like, that's a lot of houses. And made some phone calls, ended up finding our first it was a mobile home park. Ended up buying our first mobile home park. That was my
Okay,
first
I was gonna say when you say houses, I was like,
sorry. Driving down the road, mobile home park, dumpy place, bunch of houses. It's like, you can call the broker on the for sale sign. They wanted 200 grand for 16 houses. Like, all right, I'll do that. And it turned out to be great. And from then on, it was just one thing after another. Mobile home parks led to heavy value add, distress, Class C apartment complexes. Did that for a long time. Did do a couple office buildings here and there into that. But 2020 comes up. We're pretty heavy into Class C workforce housing stuff. And obviously, you've lived through that. We all lived through that. For me, it was just, I was mentally done with dealing with the government intervention component of that, and basically not being able to collect rent, not being able to evict, not being able to do stuff, having these big bills and stuff. And so for us, we made a mental switch there. And then late 2020, we bought our first RV park. I bought an RV myself, started living the lifestyle, fell in love with the lifestyle, fell in love with the asset class, saw the opportunity, and we said, hey, let's just take our syndication, property management, all the systems we have in place, and let's put it on top of this type of asset class and run with it. And that's what we did.
I love it, dude. Let's take it a couple steps back.
Yeah.
So from no, that's perfect because then we got something to dissect here. The wholesaling and flipping business. When you transition over, so you're telling you did the numbers, you saw the first mobile home park that one day driving down the street, and then you completely cut off the wholesaling flipping business and went straight into mobile home parks, or you did both things simultaneously for a while?
Yeah, like most of the transitions, I did both for a while. I probably at that time dropped all the wholesaling activity and just focused on, I was just buying flips off wholesalers at that point. So I still flipped houses. I think the very last one we did was all the way up to 2017, I think is when we did the last one.
Got it. The last
Flip house, yeah.
Yeah. And then how do the mobile home park, what were the numbers on that mobile home park? You said it was $200,000.
Yeah.
So the down payment stuff, easier.
Yeah, we 75%. So we had $50,000 down payment. It was grossing like 5,000 a month gross income. It was cash flowing like $2,000 a month off of that. $50,000 down payment. Like it didn't have to be that good at math to figure out that one. Do that deal.
Do you still have that, or you sold it?
Still have it. That's actually the only property I still have that is older than 5 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool. So then you transition over to the RV park. So tell me about this model. You said you got your first one and then you fell in love with the lifestyle.
Yeah.
When you said the lifestyle, you mean like the lifestyle of the people that travel in RVs, or?
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a coincidence. We found our first RV park from people who thought it was a mobile home park, and they brought it to us, and because they thought of us as mobile home park guys. And we never really considered it too much. They said, hey, here's this. It's what you guys are doing. You want to look at it? And we're like, sure, let's take a look at it. And that one in particular was run like a mobile home park. Basically, everything was rented by they were on 6-month leases. So all long-term stuff, long-term people. It just happened to be RVs instead of mobile homes. So we ended up buying it, and we thought we could figure it out. And we did very well on that one. But that summer of 2020 was also when I got out of the Marine Corps. That was my last day of the Marine Corps. And so had been a goal that I wanted to travel with the family for a while. So I got out of the Marine Corps, bought a big motor coach, loaded up, went on the road summer of 2020, which was interesting time to travel.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And so on that trip, I found the next park that we wanted to buy as being a customer. And yeah, I fell in love with it from a customer perspective. And then one thing led to the next.
Didn't RVs skyrocketed in price because everybody was doing something similar?
Yeah, they did. And they honestly still have until about a month ago. Like the supply is yet to catch up with the demand there on the sales side.
Wow. So cool. So then tell me about the business model.
Sure.
Are is the do people pay for this people pay for the space, right? And so how does that work? How do like the numbers work on that type of
Yeah.
like explain it to someone that I just know
Okay.
about apartments. So I just know
Got it.
about units for
Yeah.
people.
So break it down this way. The reason that we were comfortable with it as a mobile home park owner is I knew the mobile home park model, which is similar to the RV park, right? We just own the dirt and I provide the water and the power. The power generally is paid by the customer. And I'm just owning the dirt. I'm renting the dirt, like the lot rent. And so that's why we were comfortable with it, because RV parks are somewhat similar. At the end of the day, what I'm either renting or leasing, whether it's by the night or by the week or by the month, is a parking spot that you plug in your stuff to. And so I don't own the RVs. I don't own any of the maintenance. I don't own any of that stuff. I'm just collecting the lot rent. And so for us, we run a model and there's a lot of flexibility here based off the location of the park and the seasonality. But typically we're running a model where about 50% of the park is paying by the month. And that would be a long-term tenant. That could be a traveling nurse, welder, maybe just snowbirds that are living there during the winter, vice versa. So they're paying by the month. And you put that into perspective. On the low end, our monthly lot rent for RV park is typically around $600 a month. And on a nicer park that's maybe on the water for us, that's around $1,000 a month just for the spot.
Wow.
And then we run about 40% of the park on what we refer to as retail. And retail customer is someone who's staying just one night or 2 or 3 nights. They're on vacation, right? They're pulling up campground stuff, cook some hot dogs, pack up, go to the next location. And the nightly rate there is going to range between 45 to 85 bucks a night. So probably in the vicinity of about half of what a hotel would cost is a rough metric for the area. And for us, when you factor in that retail revenue with its vacancy, that generally is running at about 2 to 3 times what the monthly rent is for revenue. So what I can get off a retail spot is about 2 to 3 times what I get for the monthly rent.
Got it.
And then the last small component is we bring in a tiny homes or set up the glamping sites where you're actually not coming in a vehicle, you're renting a cabin, and we run those straight through Airbnb. So
Wow.
we
Okay.
just put them in Airbnb, run it inside of the business. There'll be 5 or 6 of them at each park. And that's how we run them. And those do great. Those are typically like $3,000 a month type revenue for a tiny little cabin.
Wow. And do people tend to rent those? You said Airbnb type model, so it's a variance between people renting it for a couple of days and a month and a week and stuff.
Yeah, we just literally post them on Airbnb. It's not worth the marketing hassle to do our own marketing.
Yeah, Airbnb is awesome
Yeah.
for that kind of stuff. And the people that stay the retail that they pay anywhere between 45 and 85. How does the electricity work for those guys? Is it
That's
you already
yeah, that's included. So that's an
okay?
expense we have to eat.
Got it, got it. So then you work out your math. So that's the price that they pay because you wouldn't be chasing them to give them 1 day of electric
Right.
bill, right? Yeah,
It's not worth it. It's kind of like a hotel. So that's very much the hotel model. It just happens to be we're providing the parking space instead of a room. A lot more revenue, but that has a lot more volatility and fluctuation. So that's why we like to have half the park on the monthly rental side, much more predictable, steady. That essentially covers our expenses, covers the nut, and then all the rest of it is close to pure profit.
got it. Do you so the syndication model for this and the way it looks for investors, you will buy an RV park and I'm assuming there's a value add component to it?
Yeah. So there's really 2 strategies on the value add. One of them is that, and this is usually the easiest. A lot of times we find that this is a very unsophisticated, institutionalized asset class as compared to apartments that you're used to dealing with. And so that means like it's not uncommon for us to go into a park of decent size that's run well and not have a website, not have a social media
Mhm.
account, not be on Google Maps, and not do online booking. We come in and just put some technology, like, and we're not tech guys, like we're just building a basic Squarespace website. And immediately overnight we can change the rents $5 per night, which is 20%, 30, 15% revenue for the year. And so bringing in that technology package or social marketing package, whatever you want to call it, boom, put that in place like day one, super easy, go online booking. And then usually a lot of parks have they come a lot of acreage most of the time. There's a lot of extra space. And you already have the amenities, you already have the clubhouse, you already have the stuff. When you have the infrastructure in place, it's relatively cheap to add the pads and sites. And so that's a CapEx expense. But we're talking like we just finished a park in North Alabama. We built like 20 additional sites for $80,000, and they rent for $600 a month. So that's a pretty stellar return on
Mm,
capital.
I love it. Is there so when you're looking at the metrics and choosing a place to pick an RV site to purchase,
Yeah.
what are the things that you start looking for?
Yeah, great question. So our buy box is geographically, and this is just a personal decision on our business plan. We really only are dealing with parks that are open all year. So no seasonality, no seasonal parks. And so geographically, that basically means like the freezing line, kind of
Mhm.
Tennessee, Virginia, south. So that freezing line south, and for us, Arizona back east is geographically our where we're buying. I'm in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, so close to Florida as possible is always great. Great. And then for us, typically it's 75 sites or more is what we're buying. We like to have them really close to an interstate exit or easy. You got to have a good traffic count. So close to interstate exits, as close to any type of city as possible. And then the obvious stuff, like the closer you are to a attraction or a city that's has other things going on, the better. But at the end of the day, close to interstate, 75 sites, kind of Sun Belt. And then we're really looking for parks that have some type of amenity, particularly water, stream, pond, lake, river, whatever, even a cool pool. Like you got to have water for a campground.
Yeah, yeah. It's just something that attracts the people that are going there
Right.
and doing the fireside and all that.
Exactly.
I
It's
love it.
vacation.
What are the typical returns on a syndication like that? Like, how will it look like for me as an investor if I invest in a deal?
Yeah, so actually right now we've got a fund open. It's 506C for credit investors. And we have two return structures there you can pick from and based on lifestyle or what you're looking for. So one of the classes is an 11% preferred return, and that's top of the stack preferred, but it's the first 11 and then that's capped off. And then it would go to your second option, has a 7% preferred return. And then it's a 60-40 split on top of that. So typically we're trying to target very similar to apartments, right? Close to 20% IRRs, what we're really targeting, and what we've been able to do in the past is a little bit better than that, but that's what we're trying to put out.
Dude, I love it. Who do you find are the typical buyers for RV parks? Because I don't imagine many institutions have breaking into the space yet, right?
They have not, and that's a bit of an opportunity. I will say that it's changing very quickly and very rapidly. So from a year ago this time, you would probably be hard pressed to find another guy like me. And now I'm seeing a lot more guys converting from mobile home parks, converting from the Class C stuff and getting into this space. There's still some big barriers to entry to doing that, and we can discuss that if you want. But we have been contacted by a couple PE funds, et cetera. They're starting to get into it and see the space. So part of our business model is what we're doing right now is aggregating a large portfolio, and then we expect to be able to resell that to the REIT PE level investor at the end of the day. And so we think that we're close to one of the first groups that are doing that.
Got it. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always good. It's always awesome to be the ones breaking into the space because once you see
Yeah.
what happens in apartments and multifamily, it's so compressed that
Yep.
we talk about cash flow all day, but the reality is that cash flow is very limited right now in
Yep.
apartments.
That's why we left. That's why I left apartments.
Yeah. The so you took let's talk about the barrier to entry.
Yeah. So the two downsides, right? I can make RV parks sound pretty awesome, and I really believe that they are. But there's two big problems. One is the debt, right? So coming as a multifamily guy, you're used to the non-recourse Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, boom, put it in place, go. That doesn't exist in RV parks, right? So every deal you are trying to find the lender for, well, a lot of it is not, or a lot of it is full recourse. There's not a lot of non-recourse options out there, which I'm fine. I feel like if I'm taking investors' money, I got to be willing to put my neck on the line too, and
Mm.
so I'm okay with that. And it's just a lot more variables, a lot more complexity. So there's not the normalized debt market that you would find in a lot of the bigger asset classes. The second one is probably equally as prohibitive. I don't know your business, but I assume you probably have third-party management companies on a lot of your apartments. That doesn't exist in RV park world, right? You're not managing multifamily. You're running a business that is primarily real estate based, but it's still hospitality based. So for us, that meant we have our own property management company to run the RV parks. We have our own business company that runs the parks. There's very few, if any, third-party services that you can just call up and say, I've got this park, come manage it for me, do the management contract. So those two things really are keeping a lot of competition out, which I'm okay with because it keeps the prices lower, returns higher.
Yeah, I gotcha. Dude, what do you think is your biggest or your particular skill set as it comes to this RV syndications? You think you're
Me personally,
yeah.
I like it. Like I'm a customer, so and that's one of the things I like about this as a lifestyle change. I'm not going to take my family to go hang out at the pool at my workforce housing apartment complex, right? So this is still something that I can be a customer for and an owner at and enjoy both of them. And so because of that, I'm eager to do it. I'm eager to get out there. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk to other owners. And so I'm a deal guy. I'm finding the deals. I'm negotiating and putting all this stuff together. That's me. So that's my strong suit, why I like doing it.
Dude, I love it, man. I love that you're passionate about it and you like it, and it's like a product
Yeah.
that you enjoy yourself, right?
It's a usable product. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that, man. What do you foresee your long-term vision for you guys' company at Climb Capital? You think you want to keep growing the RV park syndication and then eventually sell everything out, or you want to expand to other asset classes again, or what do you
Yeah.
think?
We Climb Capital, we have the vision. The goal is to be a true private equity company. And I feel like we've pivoted a couple times at the right times, and that's paid off well for us. And we're not afraid to do a pretty hard pivot like we did with RVs. So we'll probably run with this until something different pops up. I foresee us, big picture, will probably be about 75-80% real estate based and about 25% private equity, buying businesses and non-real estate based ventures. So that's where we're headed, where we'd like to be.
I love it, man. I think we have some pretty similar visions for
That's cool.
yeah, both of us. Dude, we're reaching here at the end of the podcast. It's been awesome. I want to ask you the three famous questions I ask everyone. And one of them is what's your favorite business or real estate book and why is it your favorite?
Sure. So I mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure like half your guests say that. It's hard to beat. So I do love that. But probably the book I come back to more often not has to do with mindset and negotiating. And that is called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. Oh, you got it? Nice. Yeah. Flip the three of them back there. I give them away. And then flip the script. So and I'm really fascinated with even like the chemistry, mental part of people's thought processes on negotiating and pitching.
Yeah, I love that too. When I was taking college classes, I never finished college, but when I was taking classes, I thought about psychology has always been attracted to me because of that.
Yeah,
I like the way people think and what makes them tick. Um,
exactly.
so that's awesome, man. Dude, if you everything that you've built up to today, your business, money, your real estate, everything is
Mhm.
taken away from you except the knowledge that you've acquired so far.
Uh-huh.
What would be the fastest way for you to get to where you are today?
Go back to real estate or just anything? But you're talking about financially back or
Financially, yeah, more like financially freedom, your
Hmm.
lifestyle.
Yeah, I think I would have the knowledge that I have now. It would almost, I feel like sometimes it almost be an advantage to start over. You clean out a lot of the distractions and stuff. But I think I dramatically underestimated the amount of capital that's out there that needs to be put to work. And the small mindedness that I had of thinking that I couldn't do something because of a dollar price or price tag. So I think the quickest way back would be to go much bigger, much quicker, and understand that there's plenty of money out there that needs to be used in the best manner possible.
I love that, man. You're the first one that has said something in that regards. That's pretty cool, dude. How can listeners connect with you, find out more about you? I know you said you have that one 506C deal that you guys are
Yeah.
have right now that you're raising money for. So if anybody wants to invest with you and they feel like they like their RV model, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, appreciate it. First and foremost, I'm looking to buy more deals. That's my biggest hurdle. So if you're RV park for sale, do that. But would love to talk to you about investing with Climb Capital. So it's climbcapital.com, CLIMB capital.com. Pretty simple. There's a contact us form there. And then we set up a quick 30-minute Zoom meeting if you like. So that's by far the best way, climbcapital.com. My email is robert@climbcapital.com. And any of those other things, socials, you'll find us there if you just Google it.
Cool. Awesome. Robert, dude, it was awesome having you in the podcast. That was a lot of value in regards to the RVs and that investment space, dude. And I look forward to having you again on the podcast.
All right, man. Thank you. Love being here.
If you want to never miss another one of your kids' practice games, spend more time with your family, or simply do more of what you really like to do aside from flying, grab my book where I explain in detail everything you need to know to make this a reality. Go to bernhardcapital.net/ebook and download my book. It's completely free and I hope you like it.